very beginning to do exactly the opposite. That is to say, for us to work with our IB diploma students, for them to decide the one things that they want to focus in, and then it's my job to be able to master a schedule that facilitates that, to get them the classes that they want to have. If they're making a commitment to us that they're going to do the work to do an IB diploma student, then we're going to make the commitment right back to them to do everything we possibly can to make a schedule work. And you can hear that with all the different experiences that they talk through. Them picking the classes that made sense. Those are great. Thanks for walking us through that. Let's talk about that a little bit. I've used that word IB diploma, right? Those are students who are taking most of their classes in junior and senior year at IB level classes. And then we have something called IB certificate students, and we'll talk more about them in just a moment. If we could focus on IB diploma just for a minute, those particular students, because like I said, they're making a commitment to us, we're making a commitment to them. To be able to choose those classes and us to build a schedule to work that way for those classes. And as they make those choices, they typically pick 3 HLs, 3 two-year classes, and 3 SLs, 3 one-year classes. There are some students who choose to do 4 HLs. Don't recommend it. Forced because we want you to sleep, do fun things, go out on the weekend. But some of our students choose to do 4 HLs and do 2 SLs. But those are the choices. And you can see that as our kids pick out their schedules, which are the things they're going to focus their attention on in classes either they're interested in or their college they think they want to do for college, and what things they want to do, not want to do. But like Rashad talked about, you have to do all of those things as an IB diploma students. It pushes you to do many different things. And along with that, you also do some things outside the classroom. Like I said, IB doesn't want students who are only successful in the classroom. They want to push people outside their comfort zones to do other things. One of those other things is called creativity, action, and service. Creativity, they want folks to do creative outlets. For some of our students, that's just natural. Like Varun is a trumpet player. Don't hold that against him. But creativity is just part of who Varun is. Action, they want you to sweat. They want you to play basketball. They want you to be involved in things that are actively involved outside of school. They want you to do things. And they want you involved in service, community service, either here at Portage Central High School, in our community of Portage, in Michigan, in the United States, around the world. Our kids do service in so many different things. CAS is one of those things that all of our diploma students do, again, to push them to do things that some of the things they just do out of their own passion. They would have done anyway. And also to push them to do some things that maybe they wouldn't have done without a little extra encouragement. So can I put you guys back on the spot again? Can you walk us through, when you did your CAS work, what is something you would have done anyway just because it's who you are? And what's something you probably wouldn't have done, but you did because you just kind of had to?
Yeah, so one of the things that I enjoy doing is a recycling club. I was actually elected as co-captain my sophomore year. And so that happens every single week. So no matter what, I would have been showing up to that and getting service hours, which would have contributed to my CAS hours. But besides that, I also like doing sports like track and field. And so that would add to my activity hours. And so it was pretty easy actually getting your CAS hours. So I wouldn't be too overwhelmed by them if you're thinking about going into the IB diploma.
With regards to the task hours, the IB program specifically wants like certain categories to be filled with all the activities due to fulfill the task hour requirement. So, for example, before I did the IB diploma, I was tutoring kids, but to I was tutoring children, but to fulfill the international requirement, like this, they have a lot of requirements, and one of them is like international or worldwide relationships. I looked for opportunities at tutoring refugees, and because of the IB diploma, I was empowered to like look and tutor local Syrian refugees, or go to Chicago and tutor Rohingyan refugees there. So I already had a basis in tutoring kids, but the IB diploma pushed me to like look farther out, not just locally, but on a more global scale.
For me, particularly, I always do service. I'm an NHS officer here at Portage Central. But something that it pushed me to do is I now lead my own volunteering initiative. I get to work with adults with mental disabilities, and I also get to work with animals. So they're both things I enjoyed, but I think especially leading it and being able to do more in my community was definitely pushed by IB.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. CAS, creativity, action, service. Next one is extended essay. All of our IB diploma students do their own independent research project. It can be on pretty much anything. For example, I just learned 3 years ago, one of our students who did sports science, about why Tim Tebow was such a good college quarterback and a lousy NFL quarterback. And it all had to do with the biomechanics of his hips and his shoulders and how that all worked together. That is just one of the many examples our students do to really do their own research project, conduct it, and have their own piece of writing that is very, very much what they do at any college that they'll choose to go in. It's really here where they work with an advisor, someone who coaches them and helps them along the way, hopefully, so that they can do their own work and be able to have that experience here at Portage Central High School, where they have the support of you as parents and support of teachers before they get to have to do that work at the college level. That's the extended essay. Can you guys tell us about your extended essay?
Yeah, so as I said before, I really like biology, so I did my extended essay in biology. And I'd like to say the way that Portage Central runs the IB Diploma is actually really kind to the students because they give us an advisor or a teacher that works with us, so it's not like you're alone throughout the entire process. But that being said, it is a really difficult essay to write. It's 4,000 words, so it's going to be taking a lot of your time. But honestly, it's a pretty fun process once you finish it. You can kind of look back at it and be like, wow, I actually did something that's worthwhile.
So I did my extended essay on, like I said prior, I wanted to do investment banking. So I used mathematics to look at predicting the movement of a stock using like calculus. So yeah, I liked essentially writing a paper about something I knew I was going to apply in the future. And it kind of, what I found among myself and my fellow IB students was that those of us who found it pleasurable found it because we wanted to research, we wanted to write a paper on these topics that we were actually interested in. Almost always in other classes, we were forced to write papers on specific topics, but with this one, we got to direct our own education. And personally for me, I feel like I learned a lot of things from school, but I feel like from that paper specifically, I took away a lot more because I was more invested in it.
Kind of echoing what Rashab said, I really enjoy history. I only took it as an SL, but I found the people in it really interesting, and I found like how people go about researching it especially interesting. So that's what I did my extended essay on. I did it on King Henry VIII in Tudor England. So that was pretty interesting for me, just looking at something you usually don't look at in school, usually look at American history, but I got to do it in a more global context, which I found really exciting.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, that is the point of it, finding something that students are passionate about, each individual students, giving them the support that they need so they can create an amazing product at the end of it. That's the exact same sort of thing that they'll do at any college or university they go to after Portage Central High School. Extended essay. And the last thing we were just talking about is theory of knowledge. Theory of knowledge is actually a class. It's taken in the second semester of the junior year, first semester in the senior year. And the intention of theory of knowledge is to help folks be able to understand how learning relates to each other. Like, how do I, as a former historian, look at what truth is? And how is that different than how a mathematician looks at truth? Or how does a biologist look at truth? That way of being able to look at some of the one particular problem, but see it from different vantage points in order to be able to get some understanding of how all the different classes that people take feed each other and support each other and inform each other. That is the theory of knowledge class that all of our students do. That also 2 papers that they write in that theory of knowledge class contribute to their overall scores as IB diploma students. When you think about your TOK class, and we won't talk about your paper, we'll just talk about the class. Is there something from that TOK class that like 10 years from now, you'll look back at that class and say, yep, that's what I understand better because of that class? That's a hard question.
Yeah, it's a difficult question, but I feel like that class does a really good job of connecting all of your classes that you do. Because I feel like I even wrote about this in one of my college essays. Like, everything seems to be separated. Like, you have your math, you have your English, and TOK is just a way to like combine everything in a way that like makes sense to the average student. So for me, when I go into the future into college and when I'm looking at different perspectives, even in my work or like professional life, I can understand it more because I have so much background knowledge about, like you said, how they all interconnect and how I can learn from that.
Makes sense, Anna. Thank you.
I think something interesting I took away from that class was while every other class teaches you about something, TOK specifically teaches you about the ramifications of applying what you've learned to the real world. I'll admit right now, don't know if I can apply a lot of those lessons, but no doubt down the line, when I'm a fully functioning adult, these metaphorical quandaries will come in handy. I'm positive.
For the record, brother, I'm not a fully functioning adult, just so you know. Thank you.
I think the most important thing it taught me during the ethics unit, it really taught you how to think from another person's perspective. So I guess it really just taught us how to be like empathetic towards other people's decisions and how they think, which was probably the biggest impactful for me because obviously when you go into the real world, you're going to need to work with other people and cooperate properly, which requires you to think from their perspectives.
Makes perfect sense. Theory of knowledge. So that's an IB diploma student schedule. Where they're taking most of their classes junior and senior year, still room for electives, and they're also involved in creativity, activity, and service, the extended essay, and theory of knowledge. So let's talk a little bit more about what does this mean over the course of 4 years. Now, here in just a few weeks, we'll be getting together, much like we're doing right here. Some of us will be at home. Some of us, if you are an eighth grade, if you're a parent of an eighth grader, we're going to have an eighth grade family night. We sent a save the date. We'll be getting more information to your middle schools. But we'll be doing another session just like this for all parents of eighth graders to talk about what ninth grade kind of looks like. So we're not going to talk through all of this right now, but you can kind of begin to get a sense that the classes that students take in ninth and 10th grade are classes that are working our sons and daughters to preparing them for IB level classes. And we'll explain why we head in that direction. But you can look at those classes that are right there, and those are all classes that you as parents of eighth graders, will be helping our sons and daughters choose as they come in for their ninth grade year. And as you look at that, you'll see that most of our classes have 2 levels. Let me poke at English for just a second. There's an Honors English 9 class, and there's an English 9 class. Let's be crystal clear about one thing. There are none, not one, prerequisite for a class that a person takes in ninth grade or 10th grade to make sure that they get into the IB program. We'll come back. We started from the very beginning with the IB program, making a clear decision that any student at Portage Central High School who chooses to take any IB classes or to take all the IB classes, that is their choice, without question, informed by the choices that their moms and dads help them sort through. So without question, there are classes that better prepare our sons and daughters for IB level classes. So if a student is thinking about going into the IB, especially the full IB diploma, yeah, we would definitely encourage you to think about taking like an Honors English 9 or the Honors Modern American History. But every single year we have students who do not take honors classes in 9th and 10th grade and then make a choice. Make a choice at the end of their sophomore year to go ahead and take IB classes, either many or a handful of them. And that is totally okay. That choice is yours as a family. We value that choice. We need that choice. And we want to make sure you have all the information you need so you can make that best choice for your daughter, for your son, as they head through 9th and 10th grade. So those 9th grade classes are classes, like I said, all of those classes have in mind IB classes for the future. But the honors level classes do work more specifically to prepare our kids for IB classes. Same is true with a 10th grader. As our students start thinking about as they head into IB classes, again, there's a mix of honors classes and classes that are not honors. And you, as moms and dads, as parents and as families, make the choice of what you think is best. But again, it all comes down to as we think about our junior and senior year. Okay, remember when we talked about IB classes, we talked about HL classes, we talked about SL classes. HL classes being 2-year classes, SL classes being 1-year classes, and we heard these wonderful students of ours talk about why they made decisions between those HLs and their SLs. And you can see right there, there are a number of different choices that our kids take in their junior year for what classes they want to focus in on. And there's always more information on there about these classes. You can see it in the PowerPoint and the program of studies, which will come out new for this spring. There's brief descriptions about each of those classes where you can read and learn more about those classes that you have there. The same thing is true for our IB senior level classes. But really, it really depends on what those HL classes are and those SL classes so that we can make a schedule that fits for them. That's what I'm really grateful for these three folks, is about their sophomore year, we visit with them and we ask them, what are you thinking? Are you thinking about doing the IB diploma? And if you are, then we hear about their HLs and SLs and we work on that schedule to do everything we can to give them the opportunity to take the classes they want to take. IB diploma students. Also, but that's the thing that's one of the things that go into decisions that you have as moms and dads and families for your sons and daughters. And these are just by the numbers. Each year, when we first started the IB program back in the late 1990s, we thought that maybe 25% of our juniors and seniors would take one or more IB classes. We were incredibly wrong. Our students within 5 years blew us out of the water, and they consistently do exactly that. About 60% of our juniors take one or more IB classes. About 70% of our seniors take one or more IB classes. It is something that, for the most part, we just sort of take for granted at Portage Central High School. And at the same time I take for granted, I am stunned by how incredible our kids are and the high-level classes they take at Portage Central High School, because these are truly college-level classes. They're being taught by Portage Central colleagues to support our kids to do whatever they want to do after Portage Central High School. It's also true that about 10 to 15% of our juniors and about 10 to 15% of our seniors take the full IB diploma. So that means for about a junior class, anywhere from 40 to about 65, sometimes close to 70, juniors decide to do the IB diploma. And also means about between 40 and mid-50s of our seniors choose to take the full IB diploma. And so you can see the difference in that numbers, right? There are students over the course of their junior and senior year who choose to do it, the IB diploma, their junior year, and choose to not complete it in their senior year. And that's okay. That is absolutely your choice and your family's choice about what's right for you. But that just kind of gives you a sense of what that looks like and feels like, and why we're really blessed to be able to offer all the IB classes, because we have so many students taking those classes that we can offer them. So that gives you a little sense of that. But here is really the part that I really need their help in particular to kind of flesh out why we do it. Because why we do it, how we started doing it, because I was blessed to be our first IB coordinator when we first started exploring this in 1996 and 1997. The reason we started is, if I could pick on one mom that I just met who's actually Scottish, but her husband, yeah, there we go, she's right there, she's wonderful. She and her family is part of why we started IB. Now, not her family specifically, but mid-1990s, we changed as a community from a more family-based business organization, places like Upjohn, right, to international businesses like Pfizer. That is how our community changed. We went from a school, when I first came to Portage Central High School, and not to bore you with my background, where I came from a school nothing like Portage Central High School, where white students were in this extreme minority. And I came to Portage Central High School, and our white students were about 98% white. That's where we came from. And now Portage Central High School is not that. And we have some wonderful benefits as a result, because we have a more diverse community that allows us to be able to do so many more things that we're not able to do in the 1990s. That's just the truth of it. And so when we had all of these families coming from all different places, people coming from internationally, even from Canada, people coming from all different places, many of these families wanted to go back to their schools and their universities back in their home countries. And that made sense. And IB is built for that. The IB diploma and IB classes are recognized by universities all over the world. That's what started it. But that's not really why we've continued it. We've continued it because we have students who want to take these college-level classes. We have students like these three up here who just do amazingly good work. We have students that, despite the fact that we have no testing requirements to get into it, where you as families make that decisions about what's going into it, our students still score above the world average consistently, year in, year out, because you as moms and dads help our sons and daughters pick the right classes for them so they can have the success they want to have. That's why we're blessed and lucky enough to be able to continue the IB program that we've had here for more than 20 years. The second reason why we do it is the reason that is what we spend most of our time talking about. There is nothing better from my perspective, if I could talk selfishly, both as a person who served at Portage Central High School a long time and also a dad of IB diploma students. When I talk with our sons and daughters in the fall after they graduated, so that first semester of their freshman year at college university, and I ask them, how are they doing? And I hear mostly the same thing. We're fine. It's mostly a review. Classes are pretty easy. It's fun. That's what we want to hear. That's exactly what we want to hear. We want to give our sons and daughters a college-level class experience while they're home with you, while you're there to support them, while you're there to help them keep organized, while you're there to give them the support, both emotional and mental, and everything else they need, so that that jump from high school to college is not a big one. So that jump is a small one, where they're like, yep, we get it. We know how to do this work, and we're fine doing this work. If there is one reason why we continue the IB program, it's exactly that. Because we know without question, with more than 20 years of experience, that if our sons and daughters get involved in the IB program, they can have choices to go wherever they want to go after Portage Central High School. And when they get there, they're fine. It's not easy. College never is. But they're ready for it. That's our goal. That's our jobs as parents. That's our jobs as school folks, is to prepare our kids to do whatever they want to do. And that's why we are really, really fortunate to be able to offer this program. College acceptance. We'll spend some time talking about that. But the reality is a lot of research has gone in, especially over the last 10 years, that our kids, but also kids internationally, especially if they want to go to schools that are more academically difficult to get into, kids who do the full IB diploma have better percentages of getting in. That's just the truth that we've learned over many years of research. So for our students who are thinking about more competitive schools, about attending after Portage Central High School, IB diploma, we can say now with confidence it makes a difference. And then finally, I call it flexibility during their college experience. Most moms and dads call it college credit. The reality is we are also, it is not the major reason why we do the IB diploma, though it is really, really wonderful when our sons and daughters take classes here, their juniors and senior years. They sit for exams here at Portage Central High School with our support. And if those exams go well, they have the opportunity of earning college credit for whatever college university they want to go to. I would encourage you to don't trust me. Just open up the Google, pick your favorite university that you're thinking about, put University of whatever, IB classes for college credit, and it'll take you to their website, and you see exactly the kind of things that our sons and daughters can get when they go do whatever they want to do. So, for example, if I can pick up my son right now, which he would be horrified if I said this, so please don't tell him I said this. He thinks lucky, I consider unfortunate, decided to go to the University of Michigan. And when he went to the University of Michigan, he was able to take with him, because of his IB diploma experience, was able to take with him 24 credits. Now, did that mean me as a dad wanted him to get through college faster? It would have been nice. But no, it gave him flexibility. It gave him choices. It gave him an opportunity for him and the team he was involved in to take a semester off and go to Australia and have an incredible experience. That's why we do it, to give our sons and daughters choices to do the things that they want to do. We as school folks, that's not our role. It's not our jobs to tell our kids what they should do after Portage Central High School. But it is, without question, our role to give them as much choice, as much flexibility, as many of the skills that they need so they can make the choices that they want to do wherever they go after Portage Central High School. That's our job. That's why the IB diploma has been really helpful to thousands of our kids for a long time. So those are the reasons why we do it. But that's not really the important reason. The important thing is your son, your daughter, your family deciding to what extent, if at all, whether choose to take no IB classes. That's cool. There are many wonderful programs, both at Portage Central High School and in Kalamazoo County, our sons and daughters can access. That's great. To do IB certificates, that means taking like 1 or 2 or 3 IB classes over the course of junior and senior year. But then if a student starts getting to like that 4th class, we're going to encourage them to do the IB diploma. Once you get to like 4 or 5, you're already on the way of doing the IB diploma. And so we're going to encourage them, no doubt about it, to consider the IB diploma with all those things outside of it. But again, each of our sons and daughters have their own reasons why they choose to do the IB diploma. It's our job to make sure we get you all the information you need, and it's really, we're asking your help talk with your children, talk as a family, so that you can make the decisions that are best for you and your sons and daughters' future wherever they go after they leave Portage Central High School. So can I put you on the spot for just a second? Can you fill us in why you chose to do the IB diploma? Please don't talk about the medallion.
No, yeah, no, I won't. For me, it was a family conversation, obviously. It's a difficult program, and it's something that I think everybody should be involved in when you are like going through if you want to do it or not. For me, especially, my parents were like, it's difficult, but at least you're struggling here instead of in a college that's like 200 plus miles away. Um, that's personally why I did it. I knew it was difficult, and I've always taken those higher level classes, so it seemed like a natural progression. But even that additive of like, it's difficult, but it's going to prepare you, and I have people here and a stronger support system that I might have in college.
Thanks, Hannah.
Just like Hannah, my parents were really the ones that drove me towards doing the IB diploma. They're sitting up there right now giggling. But I think the part that really sold me on it was when one of my friends came back after graduating, and they said that their first semester of college was really just them reviewing and them just enjoying their college life away from parents and stuff. And so I guess that's what really sold me, being able to like move to college and not have to worry for the first like few months of your life, not having to like worry about grades and stuff, and instead focusing on just how to live life away from your family. Yeah.
I chose to go through the IB diploma because like of what Mr. Alberta said about opportunities. I knew that a lot of colleges really highly respect the IB diploma, and they also like a lot of colleges take those HL credits. So I figured if I wanted to double major, I at least have the option to if I got the credits. And like schools like for example NYU, over the SAT they'll take an IB math like HL test, and I think that just goes to show how much precedent, how notable IB has become in top colleges.
Thanks for all that. Those are the bits and pieces. That's the that we share with you tonight about what the HL and SL look like. We share with you about the IB diploma, students taking most of their classes at IB classes versus IB certificates, taking one or two or three. And we talked about some of the reasons why a student may want to think about it. And we have a bunch of other information on there that are on this PowerPoint. But really, this is our opportunity to start just being quiet for a minute and hear your perspective, hear questions you have, either for me or preferably for them because they're smarter if you haven't been able to tell. To be able to, so that you can get the questions and answers you need, so that in the conversations ahead, in the weeks and months ahead, especially as our sons and daughters start signing up for classes, which starts like in February and March, it's coming quickly, so that you have all the bits and pieces, all the information you need to make the right decision for you. That's our job, and we're here the rest of this evening to answer any questions or thoughts or concerns or ideas you have to make sure you're ready for the decisions ahead. So as you think about all of that, do you have some questions? Things to throw out from me, or like I said, preferably for them? And if you're listening at home, I can't believe that's actually said that, came out of my mouth. If, like I said, you can email ealbertus@portageps.org if you have any questions. And, oh, I already have a question. So could I do that person's question first? Do you guys mind? Okay. And this actually a question is for you guys. Do you have time to like relax, be a normal high school student, sleep, do like other things? Tell us about that.
I think an important aspect that the IB diploma helps students with is time management. I'll admit, first few months of doing the diploma, I did not have enough time to sleep. Now, yeah, a little bit more. So overall, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
I mean, yeah, for like your junior year, half of it's going to be pretty difficult, just getting used to it. But eventually, you will be forced to have decent time management skills, like I was. I was forced to not procrastinate as much, and eventually, yeah, you get to the point where you're able to juggle social life and academics at the same time, which is really beneficial.
Um, Personally, my junior year guaranteed it was online, but I felt I had a little bit more time to breathe. Senior year is where it kind of picks up for me at least. You have your extended SAT, OK classes, like final papers. But for me, I still have time to have a part-time job. I'm still in clubs. I still lead certain activities. So there's definitely time for you to do sports, sleep preferably, and just kind of live your life and chill outside of school.
I'm glad to hear that. Other questions? Please. Yes. Oh, yes. So thank you for asking that because that's the things I don't think about as much. One of the wonderful things, I should say, we're fortunate with is the IB requirements for folks who are doing either certificate classes or doing a full diploma. It meshes pretty well with an overall Michigan diploma. So that is to say, you don't work on those two things separately. They're the same. That taking like an IB history class takes care of some of the requirements that you need for your high school diploma. There are some quirks, like health. There's no IB health. We have to get that in somewhere and be strategic about how we fit that semester class because that's a requirement for all students in the state of Michigan. But yes, when you do the IB thing, we take all those things into consideration to make sure we have the schedule you need so that our kids could meet all their obligations. Thanks for asking. Other questions, please. That'd be awesome.
Okay. So starting my junior year, I took HL history, HL math, and then I took SL Spanish, English, and I also am taking Chem this year. That's the weird 2-hour block, but I kind of enjoy it because I can chillax. Um, I have TOK, and then I also had time for a seminar in band, and then I also have IB Psych this year. So I took 3 HLs and 3 SLs, but I still had time for like certain electives and some seminars if things got super chaotic.
Yeah. To emphasize what Hannah talked about, there's almost always at least 1 hour because we have some students like Hannah, who is an amazing band performer. If you didn't get a chance to come see the Christmas concert, her opening for that gave me chills. That was terrific again, Hannah. But again, there's always at least 1 hour to be able to do an elective you want to do. You want to keep adding?
I think when you hear Rashab's schedule, it's going to be the most normal one because Hannah and I both take band as an elective, which takes up a lot out of your schedule. But my junior year, I took the 3 and 3 split, so 3 SLs and 3 HLs. So my junior year, I took math as an SL, I took English as an HL, Spanish as an HL, and biology as an HL. And then I also took history as an SL. And then my senior year, I did all of the same HL courses, but then I added IB psychology as an SL for my senior year so I could complete the IB diploma.
So yeah, my schedule is a lot more different than theirs because band takes up such a large amount of time. I think I have 3 HLs. I took biology as an HL, English HL, and math HL. And then as a junior, I took history as an SL and Spanish as an SL. And then I took entrepreneurship and a seminar. Now, and then I also had TOK. Now this year, I'm taking those 3 HLs, bio, English, math. But now I'm taking IB business management as an SL. And I'm taking marketing and business law. And I took a TOK. And I'm taking a computer science course virtually. So yeah, it can be, it depends on what classes you want, but it is possible to get as many electives as like you want.
Yeah, if I could emphasize what something along with it. Typically, who's here with us tonight is Eric Lancaster. Eric is a great guy, been our IB coordinator here for a long time. The only bad thing I can say about him is he went to University of Michigan, but aside from that, you would like him a ton. Is that, am I being too harsh about that place? No, thank you, I appreciate that. And he actually was just diagnosed with the virus, so he is recovering. He's feeling a little bit better. But that's what Eric's main job is, because like what they talked about, all their schedules are a little different, and that's where we lean on Eric. Eric visits with those folks in their classes, outside of classes, to get a sense of what they're looking for. And then he helps me understand things because when I start working on the master schedule, I can do bad things and make messes. So if we don't have that kind of communication going on between parents, but really between our juniors and seniors, and the IB coordinator and me, that's where we can fall apart. So I'm glad you asked that question because it does. It takes all of us working together to figure out what's the best choices so that we can make it all work together. So thanks. It's a great question. Other questions, please. No, it's a great question. Do you want me to take that one, or you guys have some thoughts on that one? I don't care.
I'm applying. He's gone.
Well, but that was a long time ago. Probably some of it. I can probably speak mostly to it as a dad. Um, and it really, you hit the nail right on the head. It really largely depends on the university. So let me pick on my son one more time. The classes that he took as a Spanish student here with the IB, oh my gosh, Spanish and French. I mean, if one just wanted credits, if that was the only thing that was most important to him, our kids routinely get 5, 6, sometimes 8 college credits in world language. It is amazing what our kids do in world languages class. So by him doing that in a Spanish class and him taking 2 more classes at that school, not to be named in Ann Arbor, he had a Spanish minor. So in that case, it fit really nicely. But in other places, it doesn't fit very nicely. So for example, he was an engineering student. So although he took IB math here and did well in his IB assessment, University of Michigan has this whole different way it looks at math for engineers. So basically, he started where everyone else starts as an engineering student at University of Michigan. So it really depends on so many different things. And each university has its own sort of idiosyncrasies. That's why, like I said, I don't trust anything that comes out of my mouth. I just look on the web and then and figure it out from there. That's a great question. Did you have other thoughts, Hannah? Would you mention?
Well, when I was, because I've applied to 8 universities, I think, it's very dependent, like you said. But I feel like even if you don't get the credit for it, you're still gonna have such an easier time when you actually get to those classes. Because like I took a tour of K College recently, and there was
Go
an IB.
Hornets.
Yeah, there was an IB student that gave me a tour, and she's like, "My basic chemistry class is my easiest class by far," and she's taking organic chemistry, and that typically is super hard. So that's just kind of an example of how IB, even if you don't get the credits necessarily, it's still really helpful as you go into it.
Thanks for sharing that. You guys have some other thoughts? Not to put you on it. No, perfect. Great question. Thank you. Please. Great question. Okay, Kalamazoo Area Math and Science Center. Great program. Actually started, its genesis was the Upjohn Institute, mid-1980s. When I was in high school, I shouldn't have mentioned that. Anyway, it is a wonderful program. And without question, we have students who take CAMC classes and then take IB classes when they're here, when they're not at CAMC. But a student cannot be both a CAMC student and a full IB diploma student. Because a full IB diploma student, just by definition, means you're taking almost all of your classes, 5 or 6 classes, depending on the year, are IB level classes. CAMC is a great program. It doesn't offer IB classes, and as a result, one can't do the full IB diploma. So that doesn't mean that, but CAMC is a wonderful program. I mean, again, the only negative thing I'd say about that place is their principal, Michael, wears the ugliest socks you could possibly imagine. If any of you see Michael, if you could tell him that for me, because he already knows it. But we also have students who also move back and forth, who do CAMC like their freshman and sophomore year, and then come back to do the full IB diploma junior and senior year. There's no wrong answer. The only right answer is what's best for you, your son or daughter, your family. Decide whatever you think is best. And CAMC is wonderful for a lot of kids, and I am grateful we have it in our community. Thanks for asking. Other thoughts? Yeah, please, Rachel. Yes, that's pretty much it. But with honors classes, or when you hear the word honors, you almost always mean freshman and sophomore level classes, and IB classes mean those kind of classes at junior and senior. Once you actually get into the class, you realize they're quite a bit different in some ways than honors classes, but definitely you got it exactly right. Yep. Yeah, please, sir. And I'll come right to you. Doubtful. Great question. First of all, there are no requirements. That is to say, any student who wants to take an IB class can just take it. And it really depends on the classes you're interested in. So, for example, if I'm just interested in taking IB History HL and taking IB English HL, that means I have 2 certificates, 2 IB level classes. Great question. Yeah, please. Yes, IB classes do have a weighted grade point average. Now, keep in mind, we say that because we want to show our kids that we value the extra work that they do and to take a chance. We want our kids to take intense classes. To be clear, there's no doubt that we at Portage Central High School want our sons and daughters, our students here, to take the most intense classes that they can handle so that they can have an easier time at the college university level. That is definitely a value of ours. And we also say that we'd rather you take an IB class and get a B rather than not an IB class, assuming you want it, and get an A. That's why we have weighted grades, in order to do that. But also keep in mind that every college and university looks at those weighted grades differently. Every single one will look at what we do and they'll say, thanks, Eric, at Portage Central High School, and then they'll have their own calculations, their own values, their own parts about that. But the IB classes, that is also an advantage of an IB program. IB program is no matter what school or university you go to in the United States or in the world, there's going to be admissions counselors who know IB. That's just because it's everywhere. And so because of that familiarity, that's something they know how to work with. That's the things that they had experienced before. So that's advantage. So the weighted grades definitely is our way of encouraging our students. But I want to be clear and frank to know that universities look at things in their own way. And that's cool. That's their own choices. Great question, too. Other questions, please. Great question. Can I talk about that as a former AP teacher and IB teacher? Okay. To be clear, I am never going to criticize IB. Though I can point out critiques, strengths, weaknesses. I think I know them all after working with our students. And I'm never going to criticize AP, though I can critique it about its strengths and weaknesses. So this is never about me saying one is better than the other, because that's just flat out ain't true. It all depends on the situation and the student and the family and the school. Let me be clear, though. My bias is IB. That's what I've done. That's what we've done for a lot of years. And why do we value that? I valued it mostly as a former IB history teacher. So when I used to teach US AP when I first got here, we would prepare our kids for the test, and I knew what I had to do. I had to get our kids ready for one test day, 80 multiple choice questions. When I first started, there were no essays. And then when I got into it, like my second year, we had one essay question. My second year, we had 2 essay questions. That's what we still have today. So 80 multiple choice, 2 essay questions, 2.5 hour period. That's the time where kids take that test. However well that test goes, then they get a score and they move on from there. It has value. What I like as an IB teacher is that we have control. For example, 25% of a student's score for an IB history class is a paper that they do with my help, my support as an IB history teacher, my help with them with the research, and them doing the work and having the support as moms and dads. So it's not just one test on one day. 25% they typically do in their junior year, that's in the bank. And most of our kids, they work hard at it. They take the feedback that we give them. They do well on that IB paper. And I am thrilled by that. That alone takes some pressure off of the students. So it's not just one day that test is riding on. They get some of that in the bank with our support as a school. The second part of it is that we have choices. So in AP history, I was pretty much told this is what the test is going to be about. For example, there was always a question about some 70s sitcom. No joke. You still see it today. That's always a part of it. So I knew I had to hit some sort of pop culture of the 1970s. IB history, there's about 7 different topics. Me as a teacher, I choose 4 that I want to focus in on. And then when students take the test, 2 days of testing, either their junior year or their senior year, they choose the questions that they want to focus in on. So there's no multiple choice. There's no, these are the questions you must answer. It's, these are the questions I can choose from, and I'm going to choose the questions that I know I'm most prepared for, that Mr. Albertus did his best job preparing me for, and that gives a student power. That gives them the control over their success. So do I have a preference for IB? To be clear, yes. That's who I've been. That's what I've done for more years than I want to acknowledge here in public. But that is never going to suggest that AP is not a good program, because it has a lot of value to that as well. So I'm really glad you got that right out in front of us to ask that question. Thanks a ton for that. Other questions? Please. Exactly. There are assessments over the course of those 2 years, but the major part of it is at the end of the 2 years. Yes, actually, typically students will only test in 2 SLs in their junior year. Sometimes it can be a little weird. Like Hannah and I, we were just talking about IB chemistry. IB chemistry is a sort of one oddball that it's an HL, but we do it as a 2-hour block just in their senior year to provide time for for labs in particular. And John Taylor, our chemistry teacher, is awesome. Though I've never thought of John Taylor and chillax. Never in my entire life. That is hilarious. So yes, but the assessments you take at the end of your year. Also keep in mind, we have some students who choose to take like IB history, SL, and then sit for the test and decide, I kind of liked it, and then take it HL. You can still make that choice later down the road. Other questions, please. Great question. Most of the extended essay, which we talked about, they do great work, and they do a lot of that work during the summer. But as far as classes, we try to stay away from them. We still pester on occasion, but most of the time we try to stay away from them to give them a break between that junior and senior year. Because typically, like they talked about, though Hannah's often an oddball, and I say that with affection, typically junior year is the intense one, right? So we try to back up a little bit in that year between junior and senior year. So great question. Please. Yes, but each one's a little different. So in English, for example, everyone takes it together, junior and senior year. And the same thing is true as history. Everyone takes the first year together, and only some of them take the HL together. But then are there any weird ones? There used to be more weird ones, but I don't think so. They pretty much all follow that pattern now. Exactly. The only negative, that is one thing I should point out. You'll notice that some of our classes are offered HL and SL, like history, right? Some classes are offered just HL, like biology. There is not an SL biology. It's only a 2 years. And we did that in particular in order to make the curriculum so we have the best chance of being successful for those classes. So yeah, those are probably the only differences. But again, for those classes that are both SL and HL, one can make that choice after the junior year. Other questions? Can I look at my phone just to see if there's any other questions that popped up? I do have another one. Do I have two? One was just asked, one of our folks just asked, can you do IB and KMC at the same time? So that's another great question. Basically that you can't do the full IB diploma at KMC, but you can do IB certificates. Another one's for you guys. Tell us about your college choices. Like, what are you guys thinking about next fall? Where are you leaning toward? Where do you want to be? I know you don't have to make decisions yet, but what are you thinking?
I applied to some like safety schools, like lower level, like the WMU or like Indiana. But I also applied to I applied there just for a solid base. But then, like I said, I was really interested in like investment banking, so I applied to some pretty far reach business schools like NYU Stern, Columbia, Michigan Ross. Unfortunately, has a great business program.
Ugliest building I've ever seen on a college campus. It's orange. Have you seen the Ross School of Business? It's horrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
But yeah, but yeah, schools like that essentially.
I applied to quite a few schools. The ones that I hope to attend are either U of M or MSU.
He's doing that just to get at me, I think, is what he...
But I will say, if you do, the second you write IB diploma candidate, or even like the fact that you took a bunch of IB courses in high school on your college applications, all of the colleges that are reading over it will automatically see that and think of you as better than some others that didn't take them, because of the fact that you took harder classes and that you're willing to put in effort to do stuff outside of school to also help your academics.
I kind of applied to like a broad reach of schools. I got into all my safeties, so that
Yay,
included,
congratulations.
thank you, MSU, Butler, and K College. Some of those with substantial financial like tuitions just for academics. So even though safety schools taking the IB diploma will get you in, but it'll also allow you for more scholarship opportunities, which is awesome. I'm applying to U of M. But then also there's some other like very far reach schools, like I just applied to Brown, or I'm actually really excited. I got deferred from U Chicago, so I'm being basically looked at during their regular admission cycle. So that's pretty exciting. So it gives you a lot of flexibility whether you want to stay to a smaller school or you really want to reach to go to those bigger, more competitive schools.
Thanks. Did I mention Go Hornets? Other questions you guys have? I think I got all of them in here. Yeah, Rachel. Great question. What do you guys think?
I think as IB teachers, they kind of take a step back when it comes to teaching, which is good and bad because in the beginning it's kind of difficult trying to basically learn by yourself. You don't have like as much teacher support, but eventually it does help you a lot because it teaches you to become independent and have time management skills, which will obviously go on to college where you're not going to have a professor who sits down one on one with you. So there's definitely like a learning curve in the very beginning, but you get over that pretty quickly in like the first month or so. And then after that, it's pretty much the same difficulty as a regular honors course.
If I could piggyback, if you don't mind, can I piggyback on what Varun just said? It is pretty different in some respects when you look at a class. Like when I thought about teaching my IB or teaching my freshman history class that I used to teach here, you got to keep it moving. You as a teacher have to be in control of that classroom to keep progress moving, to keep kids focused with you. And just like Varun talked about, in that junior, senior year, it's often a tough balance for us as teachers, where on some level we do have to back up a little bit and to encourage more conversations between them as students, to encourage more debate, to encourage more argument, to encourage more sharing of ideas, because otherwise everyone's looking at you for the answers. And IB encourages that for sure it is our job to move kids along, but we need them to be able to talk and interact and share each other's ideas. So that is a theme. Varun hit it right on the head that you'll hear from over the years. That's a tough balance. And that's what I'm preparing our kids for. Take one step at a time through junior and senior year so at that college level they're prepared for that level of independence. Great question. Do you guys have some other thoughts about that?
I would just say specifically, like with math, honors math, usually they teach like one section per day. That carries through IB. English feels somewhat similar to me. I feel like Mr. Alberta said, the biggest thing is like the introduction of projects and group work. That's far more expressed in the IB courses, primarily to foster conversation and collaboration.
And then again, piggybacking off of that, it's definitely more like comprehensive. So like Mr. Alberta said with their with his AP classes, you're kind of preparing for a test. You kind of learn one thing more, like added on, just to like prepare you for that test, and just kind of focus on like one thing at a time. Whereas for like math courses, you learn things your SL year that you'll continue to use through your HL year and just expand upon it. So it's definitely more of like foundational learning that you just kind of grow with IB, whereas more like honors classes, it's like you learn it and you're good at it, and then you kind of move on, if that makes sense.
That's a great point. Thanks, Ed. Great question. Thanks, Rachel. Other questions have popped up. Can I look at my phone one last time just to see if there's anyone else? Three more students tested positive. That's like my life right there in an email. That is it. I cannot begin to tell you how grateful I am that you came out to visit with us, and especially with these folks. They are amazing. And I think you don't need me to tell you that, but could we give them a round of applause because they're that amazing? And thank you for the folks who, I hope I was in the camera at some point, for those that are there. Again, we'll post this to our YouTube channel, but again, this is the start of a conversation, an opportunity for us to get to know each other better, for us to get to know the IB program, so you can make the best choices for you. So if this is our one and only conversation, then I have failed. I'm looking forward to a lot more conversations ahead. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for watching at home. Have a great night, folks.